So yesterday, four-star defensive lineman Kayden McDonald out the state of Georgia chose to commit to Ohio State over several institutions, including the Oklahoma Sooners, an institution who thought they were in a great position for quite some time. Now, after Kayden McDonald made his commitment, there was a lot of backlash on social media and on message boards, and a lot of Oklahoma fans questioning whether or not Todd Bates was the right hire and whether or not he could recruit. Today, we're going to talk about this because this is a topic that I find surprising people are bringing up now, and we need to jump right into it. Before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes and for no. Do you believe Todd Bates was the right hire? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below, as those interactions are massive to content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And whenever I was sent some of these screenshots of people questioning Todd Bates on message boards, on Twitter, it was really intriguing to go and find it and start reading, because there were several people who were backing the original posters up, questioning Todd Bates, saying, hey, this guy can't recruit, this guy's getting loss after loss after loss, the rest of the staff isn't doing that, he might not be the guy. And quite frankly, I couldn't disagree more. I think when we look at this situation, first and foremost, we can take the Kayden McDonald situation because that's the one that just happened. Kayden McDonald committing to Ohio State over Oklahoma isn't an inherent surprise. Whenever you're talking about Ohio State, you're talking about Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson is the godfather of defensive line recruiting in college football. And if you don't believe me, go to his 24/7 sports profile and go through the guys he's had a hand in recruiting, and then think to yourself, I've seen those guys play on Sunday. Because if we're just talking five stars, you have JT Tuimoloau, who, by the way, we saw what he did this past weekend. You have Jack Sawyer, you have Nick Bosa, you have Chase Young, you have Zach Harrison, Taron Vincent, Maurice Evans. Larry Johnson is a guy that whenever he comes to the table, whenever he's a part of a recruiting battle, things just got a lot more difficult no matter who he's going up against. Last season, whenever Alabama was going up against Ohio State for JT Tuimoloau, whenever he ultimately picked Ohio State, this was my exact same take. It doesn't matter who you are in terms of a defensive line coach. You can be Todd Bates, somebody that has got a fantastic reputation as a recruiter, as a coach, as a developer amongst the college football ranks, and still lose a recruiting battle to Larry Johnson, and everybody in college football be like, yeah, that's Larry Johnson. That's what he does. The dude is like Corey Raymond when it comes to defensive backs, but for the defensive line. He is that good of a recruiter. But then it wasn't just people pointing out the McDonald's loss. People would point out the Jordan Renaud loss whenever Oklahoma thought that he was going to commit to the Sooners. Ultimately, he goes to the Crimson Tide. Once again, now we're weighing Todd Bates and how good of a recruiter he is based off of a prospect choosing to go to the Alabama Crimson Tide. To me, this is a little bit absurd. Todd Bates has got a great history. If you go back and look at his time at Clemson, look at the defensive lines he helped architect. Look at the guys he helped develop. Look at the guys he played a part in recruiting. Todd Bates is a great recruiter, and on top of that, he has a top defensive lineman in this class for the Oklahoma Sooners in Derek LeBlanc, someone who Sooner fans are very excited to see what he's able to do once he gets to a college strength and conditioning room and once he starts working with the Todd Bates. Not to mention, Todd Bates has been instrumental in recruiting some of these defensive ends that Oklahoma fans are so excited about. So is Todd Bates the right guy? Yes, in my opinion, without question. And I want to pose to you a scenario where we take all teams out of this. That way we can eliminate all bias. I want to put you in the shoes of a recruit, and I want you to think of it in terms of training programs. You have 3 training courses that present themselves to you, and each of these training courses can help you get to your dream job, but there is no guarantee that you end up making it, because the rates of individuals making it to your dream job, well, it's very slim. But each of these 3 institutions offer you to come train there so that you can possibly make it to the next level. Institution number 1 is consistently one of the top training programs in the nation. Not only are they amongst the top every single year, but the instructor they have is considered the best by many, at instructing the field you're so interested in. And when you look at the history of individuals he's instructed, individuals he's gotten to come to their program, it is impressive. And you see the success those guys are having at the next level. It's going to be a tough offer to say no to. Course number 2 comes around, and the person who runs this course is widely considered the greatest of all time. On top of that, they have an unparalleled rate of development, sending guys from this course to the next level, and it's a proud and deep history of development for them. They take it very, very serious. Not to say that the other ones don't have great development as well, but course number 2, they do this on a year-in, year-out basis. On top of that, whenever we're talking about the instructors you're going to be working with, there is no question that it's some of the top instructors in the field that also boast a healthy rate of development. And then you have course 3, that just like course 1 and 2 is consistently one of the top courses in the nation. But when we look at course 3, there's been some turnover. The individual now leading course 3, it's his first time leading one of these training programs. That being said though, and in fairness, he was considered a top administration at his last training program, which was a top training program in the nation. So you have faith that he knows what he's doing. On top of that, the instructor you're going to be working with just got there. They're trying to establish a positive culture there. They're trying to turn things around and really build this training institution to be something that they think is going to be conducive to long-term success. Whenever you sit there and weigh your 3 options, you could not blame anybody for choosing option 1 or option 2. You want to know why? Because there is already consistency found at those 2 options. Now, I've maintained this since Todd Bates was hired, that I think that was one of the best hires of the offseason, and I haven't seen anything that's really made me move off of that position. What we have to understand is recruiting is built off relationships, and Todd Bates hasn't even been there a year yet, and on top of that, you're asking him to go toe-to-toe with Alabama, with Ohio State, that are consistently at the top of college football and sending dudes to the NFL. And on top of that, you're asking him to go toe-to-toe with Larry Johnson at Ohio State, who many consider to be the godfather of defensive line recruiting. Do I think Todd Bates will be able to do it? Yes, because he was able to do it at Clemson. But what that tells me is it's going to take time to get everything at Oklahoma situated, which is exactly why I gave you the examples I did in the manner I did. To try and remove all bias and to try and put you in the position of the recruits, making a business decision. You have 3 institutions in front of you, all of which are fantastic options. There is no question about that. Institution 1 has been incredibly consistent, and they have who many consider to be the top instructor and where you're going to be going into at that institution. Institution number 2 has the greatest of all time leading it, great teachers throughout, and arguably the best development rate of any of these programs in the nation. And Institution 3 is a proud institution, but it's facing turnover. The new individual leading it, it's his first time as leader, though he was widely regarded as one of the top administrators at his past institution, which was one of the top programs in the nation that developed at a high level. And by the way, one of the areas that so many people laid praise on their development, yeah, he brought that instructor with him, and that's the instructor we're questioning. Guys, I bring you that example, and I frame it that way to show you there's a common theme here. All of these institutions are great institutions. All of these institutions have got great coaches. Ohio State and Alabama have been on the top of college football for so long. These staffs have been there. They have these relationships. It's going to be tough for anybody to go toe-to-toe with them, let alone a guy that hasn't even been at Oklahoma for a year. That's the whole point of this. And even if someone wants to give me David Hicks and say, well, Texas A&M beat Todd Bates, that's not Alabama, that's not Ohio State. Yeah, but the David Hicks situation is a little bit unique because of the long-standing relationship he had to that area and that staff. You ask Todd Bates in less than a year to be able to match that, it's going to be tough for any recruiter to do. And recruiting is not guaranteed. Recruiting is an inexact science at best, and that's what makes it so fun. But to answer the question posed, is Todd Bates the right hire? Yes. It is way too early to start questioning that. The guy has got way too long of a list of individuals he's developed. He's got way too impressive of a defensive front he's helped architect at Clemson. And if anybody's sitting here saying, yes, but Clemson's having sustained success, that's because Todd Bates, Brent Venables, they developed those guys. And Clemson didn't hire scrubs to replace them either. Let's be very forthright here. But they also worked with those guys for years, and now you're looking at a 1-year sample size of those guys inheriting those athletes, as compared to what Todd Bates and Brent Venables inherited. And I'm not saying they inherited something bad. I do think they inherited two different things, though. One of them was a team that had won a national championship within the past 5 years. The other was a team that hadn't won a playoff game yet. Two different things, as we know how difficult it is to get over that hump of winning a playoff game. It is incredibly difficult. But with all that being said, I just really wanted to get that off my chest. I think a lot of people know I've been high on Todd Bates. He has roots to the Alabama Crimson Tide. I've always thought highly of Todd Bates when he was a defensive line coach at Clemson. I've loved what he's done with his defensive lines, what he does with his development, and I think he's got a bright future in front of him. So I was really shocked when I saw people questioning his future and whether or not he was the guy by losing battles to Ohio State and Alabama. Yeah, it's Ohio State and Alabama, and as good as Oklahoma is, and as great of a national brand as Oklahoma is, we also have to acknowledge they're going through a little bit of a rebuild right now, and as much as they've been able to sail through it incredibly successfully, it's been very impressive, you're not going to be super surprised when Ohio State and Alabama get theirs. That's my whole point here. Todd Bates is the guy. Can't wait to hear from y'all. That's it. See ya.